In 1940, the world watched in stunned disbelief as Nazi Germany's armies swept across Europe with unprecedented speed and ferocity. This lightning-fast warfare, known as Blitzkrieg, seemed almost superhuman. German soldiers would advance for days without needing any rest, conquering ground at a rate which would have taken years in the last war. But behind this military revolution lay a dark and disturbing secret for which soldiers in the German army would pay a heavy price. At the start of 1940, France had not yet been invaded, and the Allied forces were preparing for a repeat of the slow, dogged trench warfare which defined the First World War. So thinking ahead, the French had built what was known as the Maginot Line, an 800-mile-long network of underground bunkers, gun turrets, and living quarters. It was like an underground city, complete with air conditioning, railways, and even recreation areas. The French thought they'd created an impenetrable wall against German invasion. As well as this, the British Expeditionary Force was also on hand to help, given their experience in the previous war. So it was a surprise when on May 10th, 1940, the Germans launched their invasion. It quickly went in a different way to that which the Allies had been expecting. Instead of trying to fight through the French defenses, the Germans simply went around them at a breathtaking speed. Instead of being entrenched at fixed positions for years as the Allies were expecting, only a month later, the British had evacuated and the French had surrendered. It was one of the most convincing defeats in modern warfare. How did the Germans do it? Well, a little-known fact is that the soldiers of the German army were enthusiastic consumers of tank chocolate. Its official name was Pervitin. Pervitin wasn't just any stimulant, it was pharmaceutical-grade methamphetamine, the same substance known today as crystal meth. This potent drug had seemingly revolutionized modern warfare. But how did this come about? The story of Pervitin begins in pre-war Germany, a nation still reeling from defeat in World War I and the ravages of the Great Depression. Drug use was rampant, with cocaine and opiates widely available. In 1938, the Temmler Pharmaceutical Company saw an opportunity and introduced Pervitin to the civilian market. Marketed as the ultimate pick-me-up, it quickly became a sensation. Housewives, students, and professionals alike embraced the drug, praising its ability to boost energy and productivity. The Nazi regime, which had risen to power in 1933, initially took a hard stance against drug use. They portrayed addiction as a sign of weakness and societal decay, often linking it to anti-Semitic propaganda. Drug addicts could find themselves imprisoned or sent to concentration camps. Yet, their attitude towards Pervitin was strikingly different. As war clouds gathered over Europe, the German military began to take notice of Pervitin's potential. Dr. Otto Ranke, director of the Institute for General and Defense Physiology, saw in the drug a solution to a pressing military problem. The ambitious plans for conquest required soldiers who could fight for days on end without rest. Ranke's experiments on university students convinced him that Pervitin could create superhuman soldiers, capable of pushing through the limits of fatigue and fear. The invasion of Poland in September 1939 served as a trial run for Pervitin's military application. The results were so promising that by the time planning began for the invasion of France and the Low Countries, Pervitin had become an integral part of the strategy. In April 1940, just weeks before the invasion, the German military took an unprecedented step. They issued the Stimulant Decree, officially sanctioning the use of Pervitin among troops. It was the first time in history that an army had formally approved the use of a chemical stimulant. The effects were staggering. As German forces pushed through the Ardennes forest, a route considered impassable by the Allies, they did so fueled by methamphetamine. Soldiers marched for days with minimal rest, covering over 120 miles in just 5 days. They operated vehicles and machinery with heightened focus and charged into battle with reduced fear and increased aggression. The speed and relentlessness of the German advance caught the French and British completely off guard. Within weeks, Paris had fallen, and France was forced to surrender. The success of the Blitzkrieg cemented Pervitin's place in the German war effort. Millions of Pervitin tablets were distributed to troops across all branches of the military. Soldiers taking Pervitin experienced a range of intense effects. The drug caused heightened alertness, allowing troops to stay awake for days. It boosted energy and stamina, enabling long marches without rest. Pervitin also made soldiers feel euphoric and confident, with reduced fear and inhibitions. However, the dark side of this miracle drug soon became clear. As the Blitzkrieg rolled on, many soldiers experienced severe crashes after the drug wore off, leaving them exhausted and unable to function. By the end of 1940, German doctors started to recognize the dangers associated with Pervitin use. Early reports found in archives mentioned adverse effects such as exhaustion, heart pain, and circulation problems. These findings prompted further studies, leading to the identification of Pervitin as an intoxicant by the German government's top health official. In 1941, in response to these growing concerns, Pervitin was officially classified as a restricted substance. This decision aligned with the Nazi Party's anti-drug rhetoric, which had been a cornerstone of their ideology since 1933. However, the new restrictions had limited impact on the drug's production and use, especially within the military. Despite the official regulation, military officials continued to distribute Pervitin due to its short-term benefits for the army. In fact, its consumption actually increased during the invasion of Russia from June to December 1941. This suggests that the new legislation may have been aimed more at limiting civilian consumption to ensure a steady supply for the army. As the war progressed, the negative side effects of Pervitin became increasingly apparent. Soldiers experienced severe physical exhaustion as they pushed their bodies beyond natural limits. The drug's ability to suppress hunger and fatigue often led to malnutrition and severe sleep deprivation. Psychologically, the effects were equally devastating. Methamphetamine's impact on the brain triggered intense mood swings, paranoia, and hallucinations. Soldiers became prone to making impulsive and often reckless decisions. Withdrawal symptoms included intense cravings, depression, anxiety, sleep disturbances, agitation, mood swings, vivid nightmares, and various physical discomforts. Perhaps most concerning was the high rate of addiction among troops. Psychosis, a known side effect of prolonged methamphetamine use, began to manifest among the ranks. Despite mounting evidence of these severe side effects, the German military continued to issue Pervitin throughout World War II. Although its use became less widespread as the war progressed, it never entirely disappeared from the battlefield. The story of Pervitin also didn't end with Germany's defeat in 1945. In the post-war years, the drug remained easily accessible, both on the black market and as a prescription medication. Doctors continued to prescribe it as an appetite suppressant or to improve the moods of patients struggling with depression. Students, especially those in medical school, turned to the stimulant to enhance their ability to study through the night. It wasn't until decades later that Pervitin was finally eliminated from military use. The drug was removed from the medical supplies of West Germany in the 1970s and East Germany in the 1980s. Following German reunification, it was made illegal throughout the entire country. The legacy of Pervitin serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of seeking military advantage through pharmacological means. While it may have contributed to Germany's early successes in World War II, the long-term consequences for individual soldiers and society at large were severe. Today, as we face new challenges in warfare and performance enhancement, the story of Pervitin reminds us of the importance of considering the ethics and long-term implications of such strategies, and not simply their short-term benefits. If you found this video interesting, remember to hit the subscribe button and click here to learn more about the most epic events in our history.